said, only thing you can really just flip that switch over there.
So what?
Just flip that power strip
Oh, yeah.
and the cord and the button.
Well, apparently we need to approve this. So we are a member of this, we want to make sure that we first started doing we should be.
You're in the right position. Yeah, you should be.
I want to make sure I understand.
I didn't read that shit today, man. I was totally shocked.
I heard that one in town, he's slow as hell. Well, I've been there. Well, here's. Well, I'm just going to see how many people are going to be able to retain it. I didn't know if I could help to save by not doing that work, so that you would save it. And you would develop a character trait, a building character. I couldn't just be aware of it.
Y'all see, I keep going, man. Y'all throw that pencil and something. For real. Hey, I'm working on that. You know what I've been doing? Oh, yeah, I get it.
That's why Tiger Town's all this other thing there, that's the bond issue.
Maybe the first couple of weeks, I said, wow.
This is just an account.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling her. I figured what he went outside.
He's gonna be here. I'm not gonna let
So we can ride on.
At this time, I call the Central Meeting first. I'd like to welcome each and everyone here that's in attendance tonight. At this time, we ask Councilman Mangum to do our invocation.
Father, we come today giving thanks to you, Father. Father, we just want to thank you for the things that you've done in our lives, Father. Father, we want to thank you for leading us down us up and down the highways of life, Father. Father, just ask you that would please be with us tonight as we conduct this meeting in order to try to better the city of Lafayette. Father, we just ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. At this time, we ask our city clerk for our roll call, please.
Councilmember Mangrum,
Here.
Councilmember Hunter,
Here.
Councilmember Thomas,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Here.
Councilmember Williams, Mayor Bynes.
Here. Discussion to purchase the fire truck for Lafayette Fire Department. This time we'll turn it over to our city attorney.
Before you today, Chief Duty called this meeting because there is we have a grant and we have an opportunity to purchase a fire truck. Apparently, in compliance with that grant. Apparently, there is not a lot of fire trucks available right now, and there is currently one available, but it's got a very short fuse as far as the time of its availability. Chief Duty has schooled a lot more on that. We are the member of a purchasing cooperative that handles this kind of equipment. The Attorney General has actually approved those type of cooperatives. I don't have any personal knowledge on this one other than we are a member and we have used the same cooperative to purchase items before. And the way the cooperative works is that they have already complied with the bid law, so you don't have to turn around and bid things out in the way you ordinarily would. I'm not necessarily recommending that's the way all of our purchases should be done, but in certain circumstances, it is a very convenient tool to use. Like I said, Chief Duty has a lot more information on it. I have reviewed it. There was some talk about using another procedure, and that is not practical at all under the current circumstances. So anyway, if there are additional questions, Chief Duty is probably the fellow to ask.
For all of us that's here tonight, our understanding, according to the guidelines from the Attorney General, we are in compliance with.
The Attorney General has approved purchasing cooperatives. I haven't seen the exact letter on this particular cooperative, but it's one we've used before. So I'm not sure if it's something buried deep. It came up so quick, I haven't dug it out. But I would like to see that before the purchase is completed.
Anyone else have any questions for Matt? Mr. Perkins? Anyone have any questions for Fire Chief, Chief Dewey?
Could you inform us about this truck?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about this fire truck.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity and you guys calling this meeting. It's very important for the city of Lafayette, for us, and the Lord has given us an opportunity to get probably one of the only trucks available out there. We've done some research. Mac and I have talked a couple of times with the city attorney on some issues, and confirmed with the manufacturer, the vendor, that the HVAC program is our best option to go. But the city attorney had said there is a very short fuse on this truck. Hopefully everyone got all of the photos of the truck that are available. This truck hasn't even completed its final inspection yet off the line, but it is available to us through the manufacturer for our apparatus if we choose to go on and purchase the truck.
When will it be available?
We'll have it, the proposed date is Christmas Eve this year. There are no commercial chassis available, nor are they taking any orders on commercial chassis until fall of next year. So even if we ordered one, we wouldn't be able to do that until then. But then that also tacks on another 10 to 16 months to build the truck. This truck is basically at its end stage coming off the line, and they're making this truck available to us should we choose to take it.
How long is our grant good for?
2 years, so that would take us well outside, and that's the other problem. If we can't get something available, FEMA has all obligations to pull that funding. That's the last thing we don't want. But hopefully everybody got the pictures, the proposal, and if you guys have any questions, please send them my way.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to entertain a motion that we would go ahead and purchase this fire truck with the exception that it meets all the specifications from the Attorney General office after our city attorney has had the opportunity to look over everything.
I second that motion.
At this time, been proper motion, second, if we accept. It's been presented to us, the fire truck, and some of the specification, and also hearing from our city attorney, and we'll get with the proper reading from the Attorney General. And then more discussion about the fire truck. If not, we ask our clerk to give us a roll call, please.
Councilmember Mangum,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunter,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Vine.
Yes. Roll call vote.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Okay, thank you.
Then get with me and get that stuff to me.
Absolutely.
I got closed this week.
At this time, do we have a motion and a second to adjourn the fire truck meeting?
I make the motion that we adjourn the fire truck. Second.
Been proper motion second that we adjourn from meeting during fire truck. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, have the same. Okay.
Yeah. Who wants to stay in the town hall? I want to stay in the town.
Give me 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You gotta meet.
Yeah, but he's on. Yeah, he's on that.
We're approving the fees and then the mayor's required. We'll just keep I'll make that point, because it's. Say something else.
Shannon. Shannon. Of course, I'm a little hard to hear you start with, but your microphone don't get all of that.
They should.
Hey, nobody has the voice to speak up.
Okay, man.
Hey, Betty, you've heard all this before. Yeah, y'all messed up, you know, messed up.
Looks like you got that on good. That come to your house. So that's his, what's your house?
What you think you did? What's the guy ran the
That's what I'm saying.
I still get dirty. It's just, I don't get that. Can I have your attention, please? I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Town Hall meeting that Mayor Vines has called, where y'all are getting a chance to ask the mayor some questions. First, we're going to start off with a statement from the mayor. He's going to give a brief statement, and a couple of other folks that he have asked to give some preliminary information. And then after that, if you'll get my attention, we will take questions from the audience. I will lay a few ground rules and we'll reserve the right to change those rules as this thing progresses, as needed. So just be aware of that. So at this point, I will turn the podium, so to speak, over to the mayor.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Just like the protocol already been set by city attorney.
It's not gonna work. It doesn't, the speaker.
The mic's not working, Mayor, just gonna have to speak up.
Okay.
Especially for people like Chuck who can't hear.
Not you.
Well, Chuck, I may want you right here.
All right, glad to see you.
Mayor, remember you want to turn it?
Yeah,
From the diaphragm.
I just turn this way if it's okay.
Yeah, that's better.
If everyone can still hear me.
Yes, that's much better.
Okay. The protocol already been set from my city attorney on rules and regulation, and just ask each and every one to kind of bear with us. This is our first town hall meeting, and I can assure you there'll be some more down the road to come. So anytime the first time is always, it's kind of like ironing out the bugs a little bit. And but I'd just like to get started to open things up, and I'll be very, very brief. They already told me I'm kind of long-winded, so I will be very brief, because I like to have everyone out of here at least by 7 o'clock, okay? If that's okay with each and every one of you. So like I said, it's going to be pretty brief tonight. This administration, myself and the administration, we've been in office approximately 10 months, and I have to say, it's been a lot of hard work for myself and my panel, the rest of the council, working on some things. Still have to remind everyone we have a long ways to go, dealing with COVID and everything else. We're still working behind the scenes on some things that we really would like to get done, but we are unable to get done. And like anything else, we have to watch our funding, whatever we have, to do things with. And one of the things I will not probably absorb tonight is sales tax. I'm not going to get into that. We already had 2 public hearings on that, and it may kind of touch a little bit of it, but we're not going to bog ourselves down tonight to talk about that. So I just want to let everyone here know tonight, if you're here for that, you're not going to get much tonight dealing with a sales tax or anything like that. It's basically going to be some of the things we have accomplished, and some of the things we'd like to get done down the road, and some of the things we're looking at to do within, from the time we've been in office until at least this time next year. And we're trying to take steps at a time to get things done. And as you know, anytime you're working on some things, that sometimes it takes longer. And like I already mentioned, we are still in a pandemic. And there's certain things we can do and we can't do. So I would like to start off by speaking about our paving. The last administration came up with the idea of paving 7 streets. And so we took administration now, we went ahead to continue to spearhead that, and some of the paving have already been started. The streets, or First Avenue Northwest, Courtway, Court Drive, First Street Southwest, First Place Northeast, Second Street Southeast, and Hospital Street. I'll tell you a little bit about Hospital Street. Once they told me how Hospital, I went to each street to see how the paving was going to be done. So once I arrived over at Hospital Street, and I kind of noticed where they were going to stop at, and I kind of talked to the clerk and kind of talked to Mr. Clark, not Clark, but what's the guy doing the name for? Chris Clark, yeah, Clark. Mr. Clark, I said, can we extend it just a little bit? It just looked, this something was bothering me about the distance where it stopped at. So myself and the rest of the council agreed to take it on, extend it out a little further our way into Springfield Avenue over there. So that was an additional $17,000 for that, and it was well spent. And that paving ran us a little over $500-some thousand plus with the additional to that. That paving from the previous administration and the administration we have now, you know, that paving was paid for through different funds of the city. And when you take from here, take here, take here, you know, that's what it's, you know, you deplete those funds. So that project is going on, and some of the hold up right now, I know people are still asking when all the paving is going to be done. Some of the hold up right now is Spire, dealing with Spire Gas. They're still tearing up some streets and putting in their lines and stuff. And I will have to say, you know, we was kind of told one thing when we met with Spire back in March, that a time frame was going to be finished, but as you can see, they're still working on it. So we don't want to rush them since it's dealing with gas, but we do hope that they come back to us in a meeting and let us know when they're almost complete with this project. As some of you was here tonight, earlier, we talked about our fire grant, and I don't want to go into too much detail about that because you already heard some of the stuff, but that was one of the things that I wanted to do, get us a fire truck. When I first took office, I went up to the fire department, met with the chief, and first thing I asked him, I said, Chief, what do you need? And one of the first things he said, a fire truck. And I said, well, I thought we had one, but he said, no, we don't. So I just immediately told him, hey, whatever we have to do, let's get on this. Let's get us a city fire truck, because as you all know, we was borrowing a fire truck. And I had a problem with that. Being a city, we owe enough to our citizens of public safety to have our own stuff. And one of the things I told him, let's do all we can to seek out some grants and get with our grant writer. So myself and with the council, as if you heard tonight, that is being, that's a go now. So hopefully by December the 24th, the city of Lafayette will have a new fire truck. So we will have that. Here tonight, one of the things from a previous campaign that I wanted to do was health care. So I had no idea how I wanted to do this healthcare situation. So I reached out, called, and just talked, got some ideas, and it came to me on the situation, and I prayed about it. And it was a few months later, I received a phone call, and it was from one of the commissioners saying, hey, you know, we hearing some things from maybe coming out of Montgomery, dealing with Auburn University, maybe something dealing with healthcare. We know that some of the things that you campaign about for some of the citizens about healthcare. So here tonight we have Dr. Cost. I'm gonna let her expound on that a little bit more. And so that's one of the things we wanted to get here for our citizens of the Fed. We know we have Dr. Vester, which does an excellent job, but you also need something else, you know. And so Dr. Cost, she's present with us tonight. I asked her to come to help me out, and she was, you know, and she's part of spearheading this project of OMED. And she said she could be here a whole hour to talk about it. I said, no, Doc, just keep it short and brief. But she's gonna hit the fine points, and some more stuff is coming on OMED. But like I said again, I can't do this without, without my counseling. And pretty much everything I try to talk to them about, it's pretty much a go right now. I don't know how it's gonna be down the road now, but right now, there's some of the things that we are doing, and just want to kind of let you all know what we're doing and where we want to go in the future. So, Dr. Cost, if you want to come.
Sure. I want to see everybody though. If I'm right there, I can't see everybody. So is this okay? Because this, I know my husband is deaf, so. I'm not deaf. Well, he has a hearing aid. He's not. Okay.
Yeah, you are.
My husband really, for real, he can use the hearing aid, so I'm sensitive to that.
All right, Mac Bay.
And I was a teacher. So anyway, thanks for having me here. I really appreciate this. I also want to thank you guys for all your hard work. As I mentioned here last time, I was actually a mayor of a city for 8 years, and we were in much the same situation that you were in many conditions as far as your roads not being what you want them to be, and the fire trucks. So the strides you're making are huge, so I want to commend you for that. And if you ever have a chance to ride through Montevallo, Alabama, you'll see we paved every single road. We have a brand new fire truck, and we have a brand new downtown. Somebody got me fixed. Okay. I don't have to yell now. Is that okay? Is it too loud? Okay, but anyway, I'm not here to talk about all that. I'm here to talk about this, what we started out by calling a rural health project. What we recognized is in Chambers County, particularly through COVID, you had a very high incidence of COVID, higher than the state rate. We also looked at different health statistics within Chambers County, and we recognized that there were higher than average percentages of diabetes, higher than average percentage of obesity, and we came upon it's called a telehealth station. It's called OnMed. It's about 7 feet by 11 feet. It's a standalone health station that actually has a door you can go in. You can walk inside this telehealth station. You can get all of your vitals taken, and there's a nurse practitioner that's on the line, that's on a screen, that can diagnose, listen to you, identify what problems you may have, and they can even dispense a prescription for you. So what this will do is it will support the fire department, who now opens their doors as a clinic on a regular basis for you all when you need services, and also Dr. Vester and Dr. Vester, which is the only clinic in town. So what the City Council has graciously agreed to do is to let us and to share in this project that we're going to use the old health clinic that's just down the road a bit next to the DHR building. And what we're going to do as a collaborative effort between Auburn University, the City of Lafayette, and Chambers County Commission is we are not only going to have that telehealth station in this building, but we're also building other health initiatives around it. So we're looking at having this health station open 7 days a week, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Chief and Chris, I'll chime in if I say anything wrong. It will be open, like I said, 7 days a week, and not only will we have this telehealth station there where you have Alabama licensed medical professionals that will provide services to you, but we will also have faculty, staff, and students from Auburn University there to work on nutrition, health, wellness. We have over 28 faculty members from different departments engaged all over the campus. So we'll have nursing students, pharmacy students, students in kinesiology, social work. So what we want to do is we really just want to be a partner with you all to help provide services, and work with the community to help improve health and meet your needs. That's it in a nutshell. I will not talk an hour, but I'm happy to entertain questions, and if Chief or Chris Busby want to chime in, they actually were involved with this long before I was. I just started at Auburn in June, and this landed in my lap, and I'm thrilled. Questions? Yes, ma'am. Health insurance, yeah, it will accept health insurance, and it is a fee-for-services booth. I can't tell you what the fee will be yet because we're still negotiating that, and we're actually putting in a request for a funding proposal through Chambers County, and we're hoping to offset some of those fees with that funding proposal.
Will you have prescriptions there?
That's a great question. That's what's so unique about this particular station, and it really is just new age. I mean, some of y'all are my age, so you know what the Jetsons were. That's what I think about when I go into this station. But you literally go in this booth, and someone comes on a screen. All you have to do is press a button. Last time I was here, someone said, how are we going to learn to use it? Well, we traveled to Texas A&M a couple of months ago. We got to fly down there and see their station. Only other station like it in the United States is run by a university. But anyway, you go in, and the nurse practitioner who diagnoses you will then identify what prescription you need, and they can send an e-prescription over to the pharmacy, but this particular station also has the capacity to dispense medications. And what they'll do, we're not starting out with that, we're starting out with dispensing prescriptions, just regular prescriptions. But what they do is they stock it with the 200 most used prescriptions in this area. So they do a survey to determine what are the prescriptions that you need the most. And for me, it would be steroids because I get poison ivy all the time. So they better have those right there on hand. that's a great question. Yes, sir.
What about for the elderly that's not computer savvy? Is gonna be somebody there that's gonna help them or what?
I love that question too, because we thought about that, and there will be questions we haven't thought about, so keep them coming. But the good thing about this is, yes, is whenever it's open, we'll have a live human there to help anyone who comes in. It's also handicap accessible, so if you use a wheelchair, there's plenty of room in there for your wheelchair when you go in. And the unique thing is you don't have to be computer savvy at all. You literally go in and there's a big button that says push here, and that's it.
But still, you got a lot of old people ain't gonna do it.
Well, and that's, okay, another good question. People are gonna be resistant because it's a little freaky walking in a booth, the door shuts behind you, there's this person you've never seen pops up on the screen. I mean, let's be real. Yeah, so what we're gonna do before we launch it is we're gonna have demonstrations. So we're gonna have 60 days worth of demonstration where we will open it up to the public, we'll open it up to you guys, we'll do special demonstrations where you all come in, you feel comfortable, we wanna get the kids in there, we wanna get the grandparents. And I don't know who you know that's old because you're sure not old, but we want people to feel comfortable, and one of us could go in the booth with the person to answer any questions and really increase that comfort level before we ever open it for services. But yeah, you're right on exactly what we were talking about. So thanks for those questions.
And I'm assuming that it's gonna be like a kiosk, like when you go into a doctor's office. Is it gonna be kind of like that where you are a little familiar with the screen?
There's nothing to be familiar with the screen on. I mean, another good question, because there's nothing, you don't have to initiate with the screen at all after you press the button. The person just comes up on the screen and she'll say, oh, hi, my name is Susie. What are you here for today? And what's your name? And I'm Holly. I have this rash all over me because I've been gardening. And then she'll say, oh, let me lower a camera down. And then there's this high-def camera that comes from the ceiling, and you put it on here, and it'll show all my poison ivy rash. And then you'll talk to the nurse practitioner and determine, I know it's poison ivy, and then she'll dispense the medication. The other thing, though, that I love about it, shut me up if I need to, I could go on and on, but when you walk in, it shows you, it takes your temperature by looking at testing your core temperature through your throat. Apparently that's the best for taking your temperature. It also takes your weight as soon as you step in. There's scales, so it can weigh you, nobody can see it. And then it tells me your BMI, you can get your blood pressure taken, your pulse taken, the oxygen level taken. And then not only does it show you that, but it also shows you a chart so you can see where your range is that range within normal? And if you're like me, you don't always think about what's normal blood pressure. I have to always ask the nurse or doctor. But this shows you that chart. So it's also an educational tool for you really as a patient. The other good thing I love about it is when you go into we're calling it right now, the Chambers County, let's see, what are we calling it? Thank you. So Chambers County Community Health and Wellness Center. Because we want this to be a comprehensive model. So when you walk into that, to the center, and you go into the telehealth station, you're likely not going to have a wait there. And I know I went to the University Health Clinic today, and you go in, and there are people all over the place. So really, it reduces the spread of COVID-19 and infectious diseases, and that's what we're really going to focus on as well. We're looking at vaccinations being done there. We're looking at testing. We're looking at COVID prevention as well. That's a big focus of our grant that we're submitting to Chambers County and the DECA. Oh, wait, just a minute. Let me get my buddy over here. Go ahead.
After this diagnosis, what if something like blood work is needed?
Great question, and that's why we're meeting with. We're forming relationships with the physicians in the area, and so referrals will be made from there, because obviously if you need blood work, that's not going to happen in that booth. But also if someone comes in and they need stitches or anything like that, that's not what this is for.
On a lighter note, who's going to wash that button off?
Oh, no, okay, that's a good question too. Who's going to wash the button? That's what people say is, that can get a little funky. Well, they have this infrared light every time you leave. The infrared light, how long did it, 3 minutes. So if this infrared light cleanses the booth entirely, sanitizes it for 3 minutes. And then we'll also have people on site, and also Lafayette is helping us with the janitorial services as well, because it's their building and that's their part of the partnership. Right, and yes, ma'am.
Yes, just suppose that someone goes from pharmacy to pharmacy with symptoms collecting drugs. Is there a process for weeding those people out?
You know, that was a question that someone asked us as a follow-up from the Rotary presentation that I did recently. And so, from my understanding, the pharmacies maintain all of that information. So the pharmacies will be, they will be the ones to track that at the pharmacy. But we also are still investigating how do we, not just so much the abuse of the medication, because that's handled, from what I understand, through pharmacies. But what if someone is on medication, and how do we know it won't interfere with the medication that's being prescribed, because maybe they're not self-disclosing. And so I don't have the answer to that yet, but our nursing, our individual who's over our nursing program that's going to be affiliated with this, she's investigating that. So that is a concern, and a very valid concern. And that's a lot like, you know, you go to any doctor, you don't have to self-disclose, so it's up to them to do the research to make sure that they're not overprescribing things. So it's very similar to what you involved with. But I'm just super excited to be working with this community. It reminds me so much of my first home, which was Montevallo. You guys are doing great things.
When might we start?
Okay, another good question. We're submitting the grant, hopefully, October 5th is the 6th. Okay, October 6th is we're expecting to submit the grant. Do we know when we'll receive feedback from that, Chris?
I expect very quickly.
That's what we're hoping, a very quick turnaround time. So as soon as we have that grant, then Lewis will start bidding out the construction and renovation of the building. As soon as we get the building, we can put it in there. So our realistic timeline for opening the doors for services would be late spring, early summer. But we're really hoping we can do this demonstration much earlier than that, hopefully February, March. But it really has to do with the bid process and all of the construction that we have to do. It's not extensive construction though at all.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Thanks a lot. And I have my cards here, I can leave y'all if you have any questions.
Mayor, this time, thank you, Dr. Goff. Thank you very much. Very informative. At this time, I asked Chris Busby, he's going to kind of let you guys know what he do and what he plan on doing.
I can't tell you what I'm planning on. So, thank you, Mayor. The mayor asked me to come up here tonight. I'm Chris Busby. I'm with the Chambers County Development Authority. Wanted me to just give a brief overview of what we do at the Development Authority. So, at the Development Authority, we represent all cities, towns, the county as a whole in Chambers County. Our overarching goal is to create high-paying, good jobs for the residents of our community. So that goes with recruiting business and industry, commercial, retail, but more importantly, or equally as importantly, is to create an environment that brings more people to our community, that brings resources to our community to bring people in, to create an environment that will nurture growth. So what most people think of us for is hey, we're going to go after a big industry. And that's something we definitely do, but that is only a small portion of what we do. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that we do are behind the scenes. We are bound by confidentiality, and these projects that we work are, sometimes years in the making. So we don't always jump out as front page news and people know what we're doing, but we're always working with each of our communities to bring their desires to a head. So like I said, we work with all of our communities, and we work with those communities individually to determine their specific needs, their specific desires, and assess their resources so that we can go out and recruit things that are good fits for them. One of the things that I think people don't really know as much about us is that we do the industry stuff and we do the business and retail, but quality of life, community development is a huge charge of ours. So I've also mentioned that we are working with Auburn University to write a big grant to fund, pretty much the entirety of this project, or at least half of this project from the start. Because we know that healthcare is a quality asset that people see as far as what they want in their community. Another thing that we're doing right now that I can talk about is that we are actively pursuing a pretty substantial grant in partnership with Auburn University for a transportation plan. And when I say transportation plan, I don't mean roads and bridges, I mean public transportation. People who, in order to get people to go to work, sometimes they need transportation to get there. So Chambers County does not have a public transportation system. So we're working in a collaboration with Lee County, Macon County, to create a massive transportation system to get more people in the workforce involved. The trickle-down effect and the side impact of that is, okay, you've got transportation, what about child care? So child care is an issue. So we're working on that too. So if you need to go to work, you've got certain needs that you need to be met in order to be able to do that, in order to make money and continue a sustainable lifestyle. So child care is a part of that. One other thing we're working on is broadband. Lafayette is very lucky in this county to have access to internet and services like that. But Lafayette is not the radius is somewhat small. So when you get outside the city limits, you start losing internet service. Most of those people in the north part of the county and the western part of the county, they're going to shop here. They're going to come and spend their money here. And so if we create an environment for them to want to live in this county, then they're going to spend their money in Lafayette. Broadband is as important as electricity now. So we're working on that. We've got a $50 million federal grant. The goal is to provide internet to the entire north and western portions of the county. One thing about broadband that I don't think people think about is that just because you have access to it doesn't mean you can afford it. So we're also, what our goal is to, once we get this infrastructure in place, to provide community hotspots so that someone who may not be able to afford broadband can still have access to internet through a community hotspot. So that helps our existing citizens, that helps recruit new people. Human capital recruitment is a major, major issue for us. So housing comes into play. I think throughout the county, throughout the nation, we have a housing shortage. So we're constantly working with the mayor, with developers, to try to figure out a way to bring more housing here. And as you know, you can build the same house in Auburn that you can build here and sell it for 3 times as much. So we have to get creative in the ways that we get people to come build houses here. So housing, transportation, broadband, those are just some of the things that we do as far as quality of life that people don't necessarily see, that we're kind of in the background with. As far as specific goals for Lafayette that we're working on right now, our goal within the next year is to have Lafayette designated as a Main Street community. We have an incredible downtown. I think that that is an asset that is not utilized enough and not focused on enough. So we're actively engaged in trying to get us designated as a Main Street community. We had this process going last year, and COVID kind of knocked us off because we weren't able to have public meetings and things like that. But we're going to start earlier this year. Anyone wants to be involved, please let me know. But our goal is to get Lafayette designated as a Main Street community. Because Lafayette is they have their own power, one of their major income resources is through utilities. So obviously we have a vacant facility over here. We're working actively. We are actually working the current project right now to get someone in that building. That will continue, as well as vacant land, not just a vacant building. So when we get someone in here that's a big power user, it's going to provide a substantial amount of revenue for the city. So anything that we can do to provide revenue to the city allows them to do things like buy fire trucks, to apply for grants, to have matching grants, to build infrastructure, to improve their city, and so that's what we'll continue to do. Several retail projects are looking in Lafayette right now, which I can't always go into, but our goal is to have no vacant buildings in this city. And it's going to be a long haul. We've got a lot of work to do, but I'm confident in this council and this mayor, and I appreciate their efforts and desire to see this city grow. And so we'll always work with them, and I think there are great things ahead for Lafayette. So that's a little bit about us. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Ma'am.
I think it's important to be mindful that the city right now is dealing with dirty water issues, and supplying new housing is very admirable. Um, Inviting new building and construction, whatever, but somehow you're gonna have to get water to those people that's reliable and clean.
Absolutely, very, very good point. I've lived in Lafayette my entire life, and I've had many dirty water issues, so I know exactly where you're coming from. It goes back to what I said about infrastructure. Infrastructure to me, water, sewer, power, broadband. Those are the things that we need to have quality services in order to bring people here, in order to bring industries here. And so when I talk about bringing funds and money for Lafayette, it is to address those issues. I think up front, and I said this at the council meeting last week, when people are looking in our city, especially with industries and commercial businesses, they want to know about infrastructure. Can I get reliable water? Can I get reliable power? Can I get reliable broadband? And so for us, that is a huge and key component to recruitment. It is literally one of the first things that people ask about. Every time we get an RFI request for information, every time, water, sewer, power are always on there. So that is a high, high priority for us.
Chris, I want to commend you individually as a citizen here. I want to commend you and the board and for the job that y'all do, especially for the city of Lafayette. Sometimes I look and I think, I don't know what we do. We got a great mayor and council. We have already said that. But it really takes you all doing what you're doing and laying the groundwork for the different businesses to want to come into here. So thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you for the kind words. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
All right, thank you. I'm here. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, both of you, for those comments and for y'all for very good questions. Now, I know the questions are probably going to change a little bit, so I want to make sure that we understand. We're fixing to open up the floor for questions to the mayor. I just want to make it clear that this is not a grievance session. This is not an opportunity for you to take 10 minutes and explain everything that you think is wrong with the city. I think the mayor wants to take specific questions. If you've got a complaint, say, about dirty water on 2nd Avenue Southwest, then your grievance is simply stated, I have dirty water at my house on 2nd Avenue Southwest. What is the city doing that was going to clean up my water? It's very easy to state that. And when you do that, it's also, there's no reason to use any derogatory terms toward any employee or any person. You can say, please, I prefer you not refer to city employees by name. I would prefer that basically you refer to them in general. And I would like to be able for the mayor to basically dictate the questions, but it's going to get to be to a point where if somebody's question's being too long, or if it's more comment than it is question, I'm going to butt in and stop the question. So at this point, I want you to please keep the preamble to your questions as brief as possible as it can be to ask the question. So at this time, I'm going to ask the mayor to take the podium. And Mayor, if you want to start, and we'll see how it works with people directing the questions straight at you. If that gets to be problematic, I'll step in.
Thank you, man. Again, I just want to reiterate for Mr. Busby, Dr. Costa, job well done. And like I said, we're looking forward to getting on med board and looking forward to future development. Chris kind of took some things that I was going to say, and he kind of, it's good, it saved me. But so that's great. I'm glad you kind of spearheaded that, especially about housing. I will say before we actually open up, just in case it is asking me about housing, that's one of the things that I campaign on. And that's one of the things we are working on. I have met with some developers say this, Ms. Talbot with the Housing Authority, she's the executive director. Myself and Councilman Hunter, we had a virtual meeting with her a few months ago. And she we kind of laid out a little, what we were looking for. And I was surprised at the feedback that she gave us, that what we can do and what we can't do. So I will say, it's a process. I thought it was gonna be pretty easy. And I just reach out to some developers and they come up and start developing some housing, but it's a process. And speaking of that process, some of the process in the Lee County area, I had a meeting with the mayor down there, Mayor Full, a while back when I first came into office. So some of that, their housing has been in the works over 5 to 10 years ago, and they just have, developing some of the subdivision. So it's a process, but we are working on it, and that's something, I plan on doing pretty soon, to have another meeting with Ms. Tarver. And I told her, some few hold up, we're trying to get some situations taken care of. And so that was the last thing I was gonna come up and say anyway. So at this time, any question? The floor is now open for,
Let's start on this side of the room and work around.
okay, we have,
Have we decided on what to do with the acreage that the city owns?
which
2
acreage?
Any other land that we own?
Well, our last meeting, we kind of discussed, and some of the council, we're probably gonna get together. We're gonna look at, we had the clerk sent us the property that we own, some of the property that we own. We're gonna probably look at some like to sell and some like to keep. If we're gonna do some subdivision, or we're gonna do some, some housing, it would be good for us to at least hold on to some of the property. I know some of it to bring in revenue that we may have to sell, and we will have a discussion about that, what we would like to do, and try to get on one accord with that. But I would like to keep some just to have for to develop a subdivision. Because one of the meetings that I had with two of the developers, was first thing they asked, how much property do the city own, and what can the city offer to help with this development? So, at that particular time, we hadn't passed the budget, and our finance was pretty low. So, at that particular time, that was back in January, so we didn't have too much to offer. So, hopefully now, down the road, we can, if things are kind of looking up, it can be better. So that's what we're looking at right now about the land.
What are we doing with some of the dilapidated buildings that we have here?
Well, what we're doing, we are in the process to now, we are advertising for a code enforcement officer. We have some holdup right now, so we're trying to get some things, city attorney's working on some things to get this out the way so we can get some things put in place where we can get that done. I think some things happened a few years ago that caused the delay right now. But we advertising for a code enforcement officer, and once we get that code enforcement officer in place, we have a job description for that code enforcement officer, and I think we'll be ready to go here in a few months.
Thank you, Mr. Troxel. Let's go to somebody else. Anybody else over here on this side of the room have questions? Charlotte, Ms. Bell, anybody over here? Kim?
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
do we have any plans for the city park? The money, the endowment, I know, and are we still gonna be able to get that money that was gonna be donated through the endowment for the city? Are we gonna continue to do that, or what?
Yes, ma'am. One of our previous council meetings, we did decide to go ahead to continue with the city park.
Okay.
Our next step is we're in the process. We are now in our budget hearing, and one of the things we are going to do is get a part-time person. We're gonna get that in place first. they're familiar with what we're trying to do, the McRae Family Foundation. They know we got things on hold right now. And so one of the things we do have is for a part-time position for that. And that person, he or she will be strictly dealing with the city park. And we already have, I have it with me tonight, matter of fact, job description, what that person will be doing. And once we get that in place, right now, things are on a halt right now until we get our budget straightened out. Because we don't want to put a person in place and we can't pay. So we are working on the budget. Once we finalize our budget, hopefully, we're shooting for October. But things can come up. So once we get that in place, one of the things we'll be in there for a part-time person to work with the McRae Foundation, and Miss Elise, I think that's her name. So she knows what's going on. She helped us with our job description, and we are going to be dedicated to that part. Now, I will say this, like you, I know you're familiar with it. Part of the city park, once we get things going, is, you know, every 2 years they're looking for the city to help with this, and our part is a little over $200,000. So, you know, we got to look at how we gonna fund this park as well. Now, when I first come in, you know, it's, you know, like I said, it's a 52-acre park. It's a good-sized park. So part of that process too, what we're gonna be looking at in the budget process of getting a full-time recreation or even part-time recreation director until we probably get the park up. So that's gonna help us a lot too, because once we get that person in place as well, they'll have a lot to do. Because we're kind of looking at city now, we're kind of looking at more than just basketball and football and baseball. We're looking at soccer and a lot of things that we want to do with this park. Having some events there in the park to help with funding. And so we are, that is a process that we're going to continue to spearhead.
Yeah, this may not change what's going on, but my thing is, what happened to it? You know, it used to be stores open all the way around the courthouse. Bill Jennings, Salad Scarf, you could get a decent, you could buy a decent pair of shoes, you could buy a dress. Right now, these ladies can't buy shoes, dresses. They gotta go out of town. What happened? Now, all these years I've been here most of my life, and I'm pretty sure most of y'all have too. But I remember when that whole circle around that courthouse was slapped full. You could buy decent clothes, decent shoes. Like I said the last meeting, most of these ladies gotta go out of town to get their hair done, get their nails done, get their feet done. What's it?
I'm trying to make sure the question was offered.
I mean, I think you can't answer it.
Well, I'll try to answer that the best we can. We have to look at it, this didn't happen overnight.
No, it didn't.
You know, throughout the years, people moved, people died that owned the business, and trying to get other people to get into business. You know, you have to look at, everybody's not a person who want to run a business. It's a lot of work. And, you know, you have, you know, and percentage-wise of keeping a business and running a business is last I checked one time on the statistic level, it was like 12% that stayed in business over 20 years. But we are, you know, as Mr. Buzz stated, we're getting some things on. If you go out to people, we can see some things being done. There again, it takes time, and we every day we're searching and trying to get someone to come in, you know, to open up, to get. My goal is I campaign to have every business, every store open in the city of Lafayette, and you know we're working on that. It's a process, but we are making some progress. We are getting some things open. If you look around, we had Chris, help me out. How many businesses have we already had just in the last 8 months?
Sure. Well, lots of new developments happening that I think you kind of have to look and really see what's going on. But I can talk a little bit about maybe why we got where we are. Textiles. Think about all the industries that were here, Russell, and a lot of industries left, right? And that was not a direct causation by the city. It was the national economy. It happened all over the Southeast. So you had major employers to leave, right? And so it took a while to kind of rebound and bring those people back. I certainly think, and this may not be the most popular thing in the world, I think education has a lot to do with it. People want to go where there's a good education system. And I think this county has a lot of work to do with their education system. And the other thing that I think was really causation is that, you know, many, many years ago, probably the late 70s, and Matt, you can probably answer this. Lafayette was bigger than Opelika, right? But look what's happened around us. All these cities around us have grown, and so it has prevented a lot of people from moving here. So it wasn't like one single thing. It was a confluence of events, of jobs leaving, of places around us.
Big factor being the interstate.
Interstate, a huge deal.
Took a lot of traffic off 431.
Huge deal. So it wasn't a single person. It wasn't a single administration. It was a series of events that caused it to happen. And so, like, when the textiles closed, do you know Chambers County has 35,000 people, right? 25,000 people lost their jobs when the textiles closed. At one point in time, we had the highest unemployment rate in the state of Alabama, which is, over 20%. That's a blow that takes a long time to rebound from. So, and I know this is not the great answer that you want, the simple, quick answer, but it is a slow build back. So you have to build back up from what you lost. And I think there is an incredible potential and an incredible desire. And Chief, I'm always going to call you Chief the rest of my life. Mayor said it, there was a lot of business owners who aged out and no one came in behind them. And that's a big deal. So the key, and I've always said this, one of the biggest keys to Lafayette is not some big chain coming in, not Walmart coming in. It's the community, it's people in this community coming up and rising up and taking initiative, taking leadership roles, taking accountability for their city to make it better. So it's this involvement from everyone. So things like this, having community meetings, that's what the key to growing back is.
But see, I understand what you're saying, but see, years ago, Walmart wanted to come to Lafayette, wanted to put something in Lafayette. They wouldn't let them do it.
I can't comment on that.
I don't think that was the case, we wouldn't let them do it.
Yeah.
We've got a short time, so let's move on to the next person. How about over here, Joe?
Well, of course, I wanted to talk about the sales tax, but we're not going to go there. If you do want to quit talking about it forever, just going past the 7%, I'll have a heart attack. I'm down right now. But that aside, with the city park out there, let us not, I hope we don't forget the city park that we've got. It's going to take a long time to develop that. And I think it's a great idea. Let's get some swimming pools and things of that. There's great potential out there. At the same time, we've got that little city park over there that's beautiful. We've got 6 acres, potential pond. Now all you got to do is dam that up. We've got the potential of an amphitheater, and I've started doing some of the groundwork and seeing what it would take. And I haven't talked to Lewis Ward yet, but I intend to, and Spire. And if we could then go to Mike Rogers and work on grants and GoFundMe, whatever it takes. But you talk about making this a better place to live. To be able to have little concerts on the weekend, and I talk to guys that are in the music business, they're talking big concerts where you risk losing everything. That's not what I'm looking for there. I'm looking for something that can happen every weekend.
You gonna get the question, Joe?
That's not the question. What you gonna do about it, boss? Well, what can you do to help me spur that on?
Well, we're not gonna forget about it. So far, matter of fact, we opened it up, correct, people been using it. I make sure, Superintendent Mr. Green, he keep it clean over there, keep it going, and a lot of people are using it. So we're not gonna neglect it, we're gonna keep it going, and just like our new park that we were working on, we're
not gonna forget that park and whatever we have to do to maintain it, you know, we're gonna.
If I could get a little bit of stand behind me, I'd be more than willing to do some of the legwork to get things moving there. One other question, how much longer are we gonna be paying guys on the overtime to read the meters on holidays and weekends? I'm sorry, Larry, but that was a bad idea. Sir, can you address that?
Well, we're working on it. We're coming up with a new metering system. Matter of fact, we should start having some meetings about it. I don't know if it may be on our agenda for the next council
So
meeting.
the automatic?
It's gonna help. It's gonna really help. And it'll indicate, you know, if you're at work and your water running, you may have a busted line and don't know about it. It'll give you some indication of what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's gonna help a whole lot too.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
Mayor, if you'll indulge me for a second, I have to chime in. I love this conversation. I have a flashback to when I was the mayor, but, like I mentioned everybody in here, Monte Valley was in exactly the same situation you were, and there were 3 things that helped us to excel. And we have every street paved now, almost every business is still on Main Street. I mean, it's thriving. And 3 things that we were doing are much like what you're doing right now. We wanted to become a Main Street community, and we are now a thriving Main Street community. You get awards all the time, but we were where you are right now. We also raised our sales tax 1 cent. Please don't have a stroke. I'm not lying here. I'll do it later. But we did that, and we used those funds in the 3-way partnership that we had, and 90% of those 1% sales tax goes toward a capital improvement plan that is ongoing. The third thing that is critical, and I think y'all mentioned this last time I was here, is we put together a strategic plan. And with that strategic plan, we implemented. So all these ideas, you know, you have 52 acres, and everybody has all these great ideas. If you just develop that in and of itself, you may miss an opportunity. But if you're looking at everything all at once, it takes longer, and you have to pump the brakes. But ultimately, you have this thriving community. And we were not perfect, but anyway, I will shut up now. But I love what I'm saying. But that strategic plan, and there are places people who do it for free, and I will help you find them if you want that.
Okay.
As the saying goes, a plan without a goal, a goal without a plan is just wishful thinking.
Before we come to a close.
Yeah, there's one last thing that I forgot to say to you, I'm sorry.
Come in.
Beautification, our city is such a beautiful, but I look at our Main Street and I see some of our buildings. Some of it, people have been politically involved in this city, and they have just a building with just 2 walls, no ceiling, no nothing. Then we have other buildings that have things all in them that really are not pleasing to the eye when they go to our city, through our city, travelers. So I'd appreciate, you know, a little bit of attention there to our Main Street, because first impressions can be last impressions. And people go through our city all the time going to Auburn to the games or whatever. So anyway, if some direction we put in there, I sure would appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Before we come to a close, I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight if I didn't mention this. We are in the process of doing a study for our water. And I know right now that is the biggest thing, as Councilman Williams just showed us something a while ago in one of the districts. Just a couple of weeks ago, I got a phone call. I was at work. I immediately just told my supervisor, hey, I got to go check on my city. And we had a major problem with our water. What we're doing right now, we have some consultants that's coming in, doing a study. Alabama Rural, help me out. Alabama Rural Water Association. They should be in pretty soon. It's going to be a team that comes in. They're going to do some study. They're going to be in here. They're going to be doing whatever they need to do. See whether the problem is at the plant, whether the problem is the pipes. I've been impacted as well, just a few weeks ago, but I didn't say anything. But it is a major problem, and we don't know what it may cost us down the road. You know, it may be a project that may be costly, may not, but I assure you, that's one of the things we're working on is our water. And as some of you mentioned, that's part of infrastructure. We can't do any development or anything like that if our water situation the way it looks. You know, who want to build a $300-some-thousand house and when they turn the water on, it's you know, it's messed up, it's brown or whatever color. Some of them I have seen it black. But we are addressing that situation as we speak. Hopefully they'll be in real soon. Tomorrow. And we'll tackle that situation head on. I will say that our plant is a little over 40 years old. Our water plant out there. And I can tell you right now, you know, it's going to probably take some major reconstruction to it, some remodeling to it, or whatever we have to do. And I'm not going to be satisfied until we get our water situation straight. If I have to go to the governor's office, sit at her door to ask for more funding, if I have to bring her up here to let her drink the water, I'll do that. But it's a problem here in the city, and I'm not going to, you know, deter from that. It's a problem, and it's a problem that, you know, that I'm trying, that we're working on. We're going to address it one way or the other, and I know some people want to say about some funds and stuff, and you know, we have received our American Rescue Plan Act some fund, and God knows I hope we don't have to use all that for our water system. But if we have to, as a major project, we may have to. I hope not, because I kind of promised each one council that with some of the fund that in that district to take care of some things. But water is a necessity of life, so we may have to. You know, we may have to do that. So, but I just want to assure everyone, when you leave here tonight, that we are working on our water system.
I know there's plenty of rain now, but there'll be a time when the droughts come again, and the city lake is filling up with silt. Has there been any consideration or studies or thought in what's going to be needed to rectify that situation, so to speak, as in dredging, or even the simple, the pipes that go through the road there, blocking those off like halfway,
Yeah.
raise the water level.
Which I can assure you, when they come in, one of the person who's on that team is Katie Hill. She used to be our superintendent of water. So I assure you that's probably going to be part of that study, and what they're going to do is go out to the lake.
High manganese level in the soil surrounding us, and that's part of the problem, that, you know, they're constantly fighting to adjust that manganese level. So it's maybe something we're going to live with for a long, long time.
I hope not, but.
What about the filters? What about I'm serious, what about massive water filters on the tanks?
That's an Alan Tucker question.
Yes. Your little brother.
No, our older brother. That's little brother over there.
I got some word for him too.
Well, it's a little after 7. This seems to have been a really productive meeting. I just want to take a moment on behalf of the mayor and the council and thank everybody that came tonight, everybody that participated, everybody that asked a question, everybody that provided information. Hopefully we can do this on a more regular basis from now on. But anyway, again, I just want to thank everybody for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Was I nice enough?
Hey, Joe, you did good, Al.